All right, since I have a minute waiting on my husband, I'm going to share this story that has happened to us the last few months, and we did not realize what a big issue it has been across the nation. Chickens. So, now we've had chickens for years. Last year, we got, if you can watch on our YouTube channel, we had one of our hens go broody, and we swapped, after she had sat on the eggs for a couple of weeks, we swapped out the eggs with some chicks from Cal Ranch. It was great. Highly recommend it. That is the way to go when getting new chicks. She did all the work. We didn't have to have a heat lamp. We didn't have to have smelly chicks in the garage or house or whatever. It was awesome. She kept them warm. She protected them, all that. So now if you've had chickens before, typically they start laying eggs around 4 to 6 months old. Okay. We got our chicks in May. Now we already had 5 chicks, or 5 hens, I should say, and they were laying and laying hens and things at the time. And no, sorry, we had 8. We already had 8 hens at the time. So out of these 9 little chicks that we got, one ended up being a rooster. So we had, or have, 16 hens and 1 rooster. Okay. With those numbers, chickens lay almost 1 egg a day. I mean, you kind of, it's like 1 egg every 30 hours. Kind of depends on the breed of the chicken and all that too. But with 16 hens, we should be getting at least a dozen eggs a day. And all of a sudden, around October, our egg production dropped. Like September, October. Up until then, with our 8 laying hens, we were averaging 6 to 8 eggs a day. And with the 8 hens. And at that point, those little chicks were starting to get up. We knew they were going to start laying any day now, and it should pick up pretty quick. Well, instead of it picking up in September, October, it dropped drastically. So we went from getting 5 to 8 eggs a day down to like 3 to 5 eggs a day. And then it became, by October, it was 1 to 3 eggs a day. And it continued that way. Sometimes we would go a couple days with no eggs at all. And this was really weird because all of our new baby chicks should have been starting to lay at this point. So we were baffled. We couldn't figure out why they weren't laying eggs. Now we feed our chickens a lot of table scraps and kitchen scraps and things like that. And but aside from that, we were giving them a layers mix, basically a chicken layers mix. And the chicks were pretty much full grown at that point and should have been laying. But still, from October to January, we were getting 1 to 3 eggs a day. And like I said, every once in a while, we'd go a couple days with no eggs at all. And it was just crazy. We couldn't figure out. Now, it is normal for chickens to slow down their laying in the winter, but not completely stop. And when I say slow down, we probably, like in past years, going from the 6 to 8 eggs a day, during the winter, we would get maybe 1 to 2 eggs a day. But it was consistent, 1 to 2 eggs a day in the winter. I don't think we ever went a day that we didn't get any eggs. But we always got at least 1, maybe 3. And so, but for it to stop in October was really weird because that was super early. That they usually don't slow down that much until like the first part of December. And then they pick up again around the end of February, first part of March. Well, so this was really weird and we couldn't figure it out. We tried all these things. We thought, okay, maybe they're cold, maybe their coop's not insulated. So we got bales of wood chips and put around their coop to help insulate it. We got some of that insulation foam and put in the cracks. We did everything we could and we couldn't figure out. And now, side note, my niece had chicks. She had got actually a month after us. So hers were a month younger. And hers had started laying. And she was getting about a dozen eggs a day. And so we couldn't figure out why our chicks weren't laying. So basically, after months and months, we tried all these things. We kept, trying different stuff, making sure they had plenty of water, they were warm, all that. Well, then we got some ducks. And a friend of mine had some ducks that they needed to get rid of. And we're like, okay, they can go with the chickens. So we got some ducks. And as a result of that, we got some straw and we got some bouncy road, and we got some, it's called all flock food. So it's food that both chickens and ducks can eat. The day that we did that we switched, we put the straw in and we switched the food, that day we got 2 eggs. The next day we got 5 eggs. Now we had not had that many eggs in one day for months. The next day we got 7 eggs, and we were just baffled. Now, and we thought maybe it was the straw. We're like, oh, maybe they were cold, but they had bedding in there and they had things in their coop and nesting and stuff. So we were just baffled. We're like, maybe it was the straw. And it wasn't until about then, because we consistently started getting 7 to 9 eggs a day. And we got 10 today, by the way. Then we started hearing about the chicken feed, and other people had this same issue and had noticed the same stuff with people that had chickens forever and not getting any eggs and just abnormal. And as soon as they changed chicken food, they started getting eggs. And the people that were feeding chicken scraps were the ones that were getting some eggs, but not as many. And the people that didn't feed chicken scraps were getting no eggs. And so very interesting. So since we've switched, we've been getting more and more eggs and every day, and like, it just blows my mind. So from here on out, I think we're going to start looking into making our own chicken food. It's crazy. They say conspiracy theory and all that, but I'm telling you from personal experience, the food, definitely there was something going on, because we went from no eggs to maybe 3 tops to getting 9, 10 eggs a day. And all we did was change the food. And this is a matter of days. So something was up. Okay, we had a lot of questions on what kind of food everyone is feeding their chickens. This is what we were feeding the chickens when they stopped laying eggs, or didn't start for the new little chicks. This is what we had been feeding them. Now, we were getting anywhere from 0 to at most 3 eggs a day for months. We'd go a couple days with no eggs, but we were kind of averaging 1 to 3, and we give our chickens a lot of table scraps. So when we got our ducks, we switched to this one. This one we got at Cal Ranch. It's all flock, so it worked for ducks. When we switched to this one, that's when miraculously the next day, our chickens started laying 5 eggs and then 7 eggs. And since then, they've been laying up to even 11 in a day in a matter of just a couple of weeks. But this was almost instant when we swapped. And like I said, we give them a lot of kitchen scraps as well. Hey, so one more quick update and verification. So my niece, her chickens, she realized they were in with their rabbits, and her chickens had been eating the rabbit food. So her chickens had been eating rabbit food, which is why she was getting eggs all along when we weren't. Since then, since those last videos were recorded, we have created our own chicken feed. We've been experimenting. So chickens basically, I mean, they need a lot of protein, but you can make your own feed with a combination of whole corn or cracked corn, wheat, barley, any of your grain stuff except rice. You want rice only to be cooked because I don't know, something about the rice, but and oatmeal, like just oats. So Cal Ranch does have one that's called Cobb, corn, oats, and barley mixture, and they have it like for their horses and stuff. That, and you can always mix in, we also got some cracked corn. We kind of just got a bunch of grains and made our own mixture. That's pretty much what chicken food is. If it's the pellets and stuff, it's just blended and processed into pellets. But so that's what we've been doing. Our chickens have been doing fantastic. We made our own mix. It actually ended up being cheaper than buying the bags of pellets or whatever anyway. And if anybody's getting rid of like their old food storage and things like that, that's a great way. Just, you can turn it into your chicken food. So since then, our chickens have been laying, I don't think we've gotten less than 8 eggs in one day for the last couple of months. They're averaging about 12 eggs a day. And we've had snowstorms, we've had some temperature drops, really cold. and they still, those are the days we got maybe 8 eggs, but it hasn't dropped below 8 eggs a day since we switched their food. So definitely look into that if you're having issues with your chickens laying, and try it out and see. There's been enough people that have had issues. There's something's up with it. I think a lot of farmers and people that have chickens like us were kind of problem solving the way we were, not realizing it was a bigger issue. Everybody just kind of assumed it was their chickens being weird. Now people are talking, and it's a national issue. So good luck.